So where are you staying?
I don't know, actually, I'm not sure yet.
What does that mean?
I was gonna ask if maybe I could crash here a couple nights. I mean, like, it's just not I get paid, you know? Like, if I can afford a room somewhere. Like,
You can stay here.
I need to sleep on the couch.
No, shut the fuck up. You can stay here.
This is delicious.
Good.
I mean, like, you know, next time maybe take the yolks out, but.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
Wow, dramatic removal of the cigarette.
My prop cigarette. You guys who are just listening, you guys should be watching on YouTube or maybe Spotify. I just learned how to put video episodes on Spotify, so maybe this will be on there at some point.
Oh.
But if you guys are watching this, which you should be somewhere on some platform, you would know that I'm dressed very slay. Would you say? Would you say I'm dressed very slay?
I would say.
Some would say slay. Some
would say I
slayer.
certainly am slaying on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Of my enemies.
Chelsea, the enemy slayer.
It's giving riffraff core for sure.
I know. I referenced Sydney when she dressed up as Riff Raff last year to be like, how'd she do her hair? But she pulled it back, and I was like, I have 2 wig caps. I can make a bald head probably.
Really incredible
So,
work.
if you're putting together any context clues, I'll just let you know if you're not listening, even though you should be watching. But you know, we like to cosplay a little bit. And Monica had the perfect Kristen Stewart look for this movie. And so I figured I'm not going to bother finding just the right muscle tee, you know? Let me move away from my muscle tee. I know. I was like, and I need to buy a
But then
Crater
it's
Gym
not a
muscle tee. A24
cosplay.
is selling them.
Yeah.
Right. So I needed to do a closet cosplay. And I got to thinking, this is technically our Father's Day episode.
God damn it.
And it just felt really right that I would come in and be daddy for the day.
Well,
Chelsea,
Daddy,
you are
is it
the daddy
okay
of
if
the
I
pod.
tell them what movie we're doing real quick so they're not confused?
No, no, you can't tell.
Please,
I forbid
Daddy.
it.
Please,
I forbid
Daddy.
it.
Nobody knows how to read either, so they have no idea what we're doing at all.
They don't know. Okay.
They didn't click on this episode with any knowledge in their heads or hearts. They're just freebasing it.
Which is
Well,
how
we're
we
doing
should
Love
be
Lies
consumed.
Bleeding. We're doing Love Lives Bleeding, the sexy 2024 A24 movie, starring our girls, Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry. She wasn't listed in the top 3 people on IMDb.
I know.
so
Daisy's listed
I was
first.
panicking for a second there, if I'm so honest with you.
This
But
movie is disgustingly sexy, actually.
it's so sexy. It's so sexy that I'm considering having a rat mullet because
I
wanna
love the
be
mullet on
Kristen
you.
Stewart. Honestly,
It needs to be
this
a little
authentically
greasier.
looks like a mullet.
So
The thing that's so crazy is that yesterday I was very, very sleepy when taking a shower and just totally did not get any of the conditioner out at all. And so it's actually incredibly greasy, but it's not even close to the level of grease that Kristen Stewart has as Lou in this movie. Not even close.
But she's working it. You know what I mean? Like something
Oh.
about it is really working.
She's
Yeah, it
so
does it for
dirty,
me.
and I'm like, I will be that dirty with you. Whatever you want. Tell me
I
not
want
to
her to
shower.
be that
Whatever
girl.
you want.
I want her to be that dirty, and I want her to call me a good girl. and then
think
I
she'd
can
do it.
die.
I think
I
she'd
think
do
she'd
that for
do it.
you.
This movie. Wow. Okay, real quick. Here's the IMDb log line before we dive all the way into our horniness. But it reads, gym manager Lou falls for Jackie, a bodybuilder who is passing through town en route to a competition in Las Vegas. They give you nothing.
They give
And
you
then
nothing.
the
They give
movie
you
gives
nothing.
What we want.
everything. Well, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a great way to go into this movie if you're someone with an open mind. If you're not someone
Mhm.
with an open mind and you go into this movie blind, you'll probably have a panic attack. I don't know.
I was gonna make my family watch this movie with me over the Memorial Day holiday, and I'm
Mm.
glad
Fun.
I didn't.
I feel like that would have been really interesting.
I'm glad that I enjoyed this with a movie supplement by myself alone.
By yourself.
in my
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
you said you were
quite the
having a movie
movie.
supplement, and I was like, that's gonna be a journey, I think, maybe.
Was
Did we not have supplements when we saw it in theaters, Chelsea?
You might have, but I didn't. I don't think. It was
I
like an
think that
afternoon.
I did. I think
Well,
that I
you
did.
were about to go to dinner with your dad, so
you probably needed it.
Oh man. Well, maybe I was so
I think you were
supplemented
just
last night that my memory was rewritten by by that experience. But honestly, this movie feels like you're on drugs even if you're not. Like
It
it's
truly does.
really, it's really another one of the another A24 movie that has a great depiction of drug use. Of course, I have not used steroids, so I don't know, but it really gives you that off kilter feeling, like Midsummer. That's the other one I was referring to. Mm-hmm.
I have also never done steroids, so I will have some questions that you two have that have also never done steroids.
don't worry,
I
I'm
will
an
expect-
expert.
I want
Yeah.
answers from you two.
Chelsea has done steroids, so she knows.
I've done yeah,
Can
you guys know
imagine?
how I'm always wearing the muscle tees. You've
Chelsea
seen the
is
kind of
muscle
muscles I'm
mommy,
putting
so-
in them. So you guys, you gotta know I'm ripped over here. So
Oh my god. Yeah. That's true. No, it's true. I've been intimidated by Chelsea's muscles in the past. And so
thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's too bad you're not showing them off today, but you knew that
I
Sydney was
know,
gonna
but
dress up
I-
as Jackie and you didn't want to outshine her shine. So
Mhm.
I can't
I
wait.
had to do my own thing.
Try some muscle mommy poses. I almost
I know
wore a
she's gonna do them for
bikini,
us.
but then I was like, it's too chilly, and my sports bra is still too chilly, and I didn't want to go into my attic and get my 80s like fly coat.
it's okay.
That's
You've got the
okay.
curly hair. It's perfect. It's
Thank
perfect.
you. And I've got the shorts.
There you
Should
go.
I do my rat tail reveal now or
Yeah,
should
I
I
want to
wait?
see it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't wait.
This is another situation similar to Saltburn when I did something that you cannot actually see from the back. If you look at it from the back, you throw up. But honestly, this one's a lot better. So here's the side. You can't see it. It looks normal. But underneath my sexy, sexy lesbian vest. Yeah.
That's not even that bad. Rat tails need to be like skinny and threatening.
Oh, I didn't cut my hair for this, Sydney.
Why
You needed
not?
to do it into a smaller braid, Monica.
I shaved my
can't
whole
make-
top of my head, Monica.
Yeah.
No one asked you to do that, Chelsea.
I
and you
started
shouldn't have.
injecting steroids, Monica.
I slathered my body in Vaseline and got thrown up, Monica.
Well, I didn't shower today, so
I
did something.
hitchhiked to Vegas and back, Monica.
Well, I guess you're all more committed to the podcast than me because I didn't give myself a legitimate mullet. Oh my god. Okay, I'm so glad that we're doing this for Pride. Okay, sorry. I know we've been being gay already. It's Pride. I
Yeah.
have a mullet. It's Pride. Come on.
I have a mullet. It's pride.
You have a
Get with
mullet.
the picture.
I called myself daddy already twice.
Yeah, we called you
Um,
daddy, all of us together. We screamed it from the rooftops. Probably scared the shit out of Adam.
Adam should know better by now. So
Adam
He can't
should
say
know I'm
anything.
daddy.
It's Pride. He knows he needs to be quiet and during Pride Month.
he knows he's not allowed to speak to us as a straight man during Pride. I'm just saying.
No, only supportive things
Yeah.
can be said during Pride. Keep that in mind when you're writing our 5-star reviews. But yeah, I love this movie so much. Watching it again last night and today, it just like compounded my love. And I really love a movie that gives people like a crash course in body horror when they really, really didn't sign up for it. I bet bitches hated this who aren't into this kind of thing. I bet people were like, "Ah, I saw that sexy photo shoot of Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, and I'm gonna go and have a horny time." And then they did, but then also they felt fear they'd never felt before.
Okay, but
Yeah,
did you-
there's
I was gonna say, did y'all see the headlines about the one guy who like fell
got
asleep
arrested for
masturbating during this movie or something like that?
indecent exposure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
It
want to
was
know
like
which
a-
part.
it was an incredibly horny film going experience in the theater. I think that I don't know, we've seen so many movies together, but were we clutching each other's hands like we're gonna
Yes,
break
yes.
our hands off during all
Mhm.
of them?
That
Yeah,
tracks.
it was really intense. I was like, I'm scared of how I'm feeling right now. And I just turned purple just thinking about it. That's another thing you'd only see if you were on YouTube. But Kristen Stewart, at the end of the day, is one of the sexiest women alive. And it's just so wonderful when someone who's always been sexy turns out to be a big ass lesbian
Yeah.
and can play out those roles that we've always dreamt of. God, she's doing the greasy thing like in this movie, but like in her real life all the time right now too. And
I know,
I'm
I
really
love
into it. The stringy little mullet.
They said, "Do you want to show up and film a movie where you really don't have to change your aesthetic at all?" And she said, "That sounds convenient."
That
That
sounds
sounds great.
incredible.
I like Kristen Stewart's mullet way better than Dave Franco's mullet.
Dave Franco's mullet is an abomination. He is so
Yeah.
good at being disgusting, though. Like Oscar for being the worst man since Guy in Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, he is just so annoying too. Like everybody's talking about like sexy little rat man summer or whatever, and it's like he is not giving that in a good way. He's
No.
giving that in a bad way.
He's giving nasty little rat man. Not
Uh,
sexy.
I like to say like young Republican beard, young Republican mustache, things like that sometimes. And
Sure.
Taylor was like, I need examples. And I literally sent him a photo of Dave Franco in this movie. And I was like,
Fucking
this.
JJ.
this,
Young Republican mullet,
right?
middle-aged Republican mullet.
Yeah, I mean, he looks so disgusting. They really transformed Jenna Malone to, I mean, poor girl. I feel like Jenna Malone gets a raw deal in this movie just because her character goes through fucking hell and also she's barely fucking in it too. And it's
Yeah.
Jenna Malone.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if they
Yeah,
chopped shit
also
out with her.
Well, she might also like wanted to have worked with this filmmaker or whatever. Like it might be one of those things where it's like the project is so cool that you're like,
Yeah,
because Dave
they just
Franco
wanted to
also,
be a part of
you
it.
know, he was here for 5 minutes.
That's true. But like he was a major player in the movie. She's a major player in the movie too. I just felt bad for her. I wanted more of her, but also it was very sad. So difficult.
And the blonde hair was also difficult, I would
The
say.
haircut was really
Yeah, the color
anti-slay.
wasn't
It was,
great.
But
it was
I'm
not
very
good.
I think I'm blaming Dave Franco's character for that. I think that's because of him, you know. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
giving messaging at home that his wife should be blonde and have puffy hair because it's 1989, and that's how
It's
we got
all
what
his
we
fault.
got. Yeah.
It's all his fault for sure. But okay, you mentioned the director. Let's talk about her for a second. Female director, Slay, Rose Glass. This is her second feature-length film, and her debut also with A24 was Saint Maud, which I have brought up on this podcast before. Have either of y'all seen it?
No, but I know you have, and you liked it, I think, right?
I really liked it. I really, really liked it. It is there are similarities, I'm sure, but like a very different kind of vibe than this movie. A lot less like intense. It's much more of a slow burn, more of like a psychological slow burn dealing with like religious themes. Um and it's spectacular. It really um she loves to give you an ending where you're like, wow, wow, wee, wah, what just happened? That kind of vibe. So that's kind of Rose's thing. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it makes sense to me that she would do a thriller that leans so closely to horror, or basically is. I don't know. This is a horror movie to me. Um,
I
and
think this is a horror movie for sure with all of the additional, not traditional thriller elements that get added. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
all of the body horror stuff and the psychological aspect of it, I think for sure elevates it. Not to say that a thriller can't be elevated, but I think like moves it into that space between genres where like it's a horror, it's a thriller. You can kind of put it in any spot.
It's also
Totally.
a romance.
It's also a
A
romance.
beautiful romance. Oh my God. Let's talk about Katie O'Brien. What bringing back muscle mommies into the foreground. They never left.
And
They're
that's
here.
so important. I'm so glad we're getting muscle mommy representation in movies these days because it's been too long without them. I feel like most of the muscle mommies that exist for queer desire are like cartoons. You know what I mean? Like I want a real life muscle mommy that I can look at and
Yeah.
appreciate.
No, totally. I totally agree with you. And also, like, this is just like a cool version of the lesbian drama that we get, because usually there's like more feminine women and like it's super sad. This is sad too, but I would say it has a happy ending. Kind
Yeah,
of.
it
We'll get
definitely
there.
is a happy ending.
But it's not like the lesbian movies where they're like they were in love and then sadly they were killed.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like the classic trope. And also like it's really cool to have like not so feminine, like just different displays of a woman, a queer woman. Like we have Lou, who is like super androgynous, and sexy as all hell. And then we also have the androgyny coming from Jackie, but in a completely different way. She's got muscles, which is like historically people associate muscles with men,
Masculine.
with masculinity, but she's also a very feminine character. She's wearing the makeup, she's wearing like little like outfits that are just they're much more feminine and show off her beautiful a different way of seeing a beautiful feminine physique. And also she always has her like big ass fucking 80s earrings on.
Yes.
That sort of thing. So I just love the different portrayal. And I also love the costuming in this. Like, whew, man, do I need dolphin shorts now? Yes.
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 I have the running shorts, know what I mean? So I have a bunch of those. And I was just like, I love these. But did I immediately go and look like red striped running shorts? I was like, the shorts of the summer. I'm so sorry.
Might need to get more specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading this article about the costuming in general and like how much effort just went into those denim shorts that
Oh, those are so
Jackie
good.
is wearing with the little belt. And they like custom made them, tailored them to her body so they'd
Ooh.
fit that way. And then like all of the jeans that Lou / Christian Stewart wears were like modern jeans, but then they like specifically dyed them and wore them down so they'd be like
They
perfectly
like acid
worn
washed
in.
them.
Yeah, acid washed them, wore them all down because Lou's whole thing was supposed to be that she's like wearing the same clothes like over and over and over. Like you'll notice she wears that baseball tee with the yellow sleeves like all the fucking time. And at first I was like, oh, is like a weird continuity thing. Why is she wearing that again? Well, she's probably got like five things she wears and she loves those things.
Right.
And one of them is a fucking gay ass vest. And I love that.
Yeah,
Every
I mean,
lesbian needs a gay ass vest.
It's so important.
It's so
It's
important.
crucial.
I gotta
It's
work
literally
on my
crucial.
vest collection. I used to have a lot of vests back in high school. back.
They're coming back around. I have a
when-
whole drawer
Yeah.
of vests. It's a problem.
Honestly, if you weren't gonna wear your denim vest, I did think about like, oh, I have a denim jacket with like sweatshirt sleeves. I could cut those sleeves off pretty easy. And then I could always just wear a sweatshirt underneath it if I needed sweatshirt sleeves. But maybe later, maybe tomorrow. That's the project. But yeah, I mean, I think it is a really interesting commentary on her character that she just has like the same clothes over and over. You know what I mean? I think it really speaks to how stuck she is in this town. And to loop it back around to Jenna Malone, like obviously her character is not necessarily present that much, but her character is so important to the plot because she's the one reason that Lou stays around. Like that's the one thing that's going on that keeps Lou in this town, just like grinding day to day, digging poop out of toilets so that they can flush. So
Poop
that
and barf
like,
together.
yeah,
And there was
my
blood in
God,
there as well.
what a disgusting little
What a
Toilet.
great
clogged
opening.
toilet. Yeah.
Again,
Really romantic opening.
disgustingly sexy.
Seriously,
Well, don't say
it's
the
gritty.
word sexy right there. Although
It's
I guess
disgustingly sexy. I am so
a
sorry.
woman who can unclog a toilet is sexy.
That whole scene was still really sexy to me. I'm also like very much obsessed with Daisy. Her
Yeah.
character is so funny to me. She is all of us when we see Kristen Stewart in this movie. Like
She's
On
I'll die
meth.
just
for you,
really
Kristen
thirsty.
Stewart.
Yeah.
Yes, on meth. That's
On
what I
meth.
meant, Sydney. She is also on meth. But her stalkerish love for Kristen Stewart is relatable to the everyman. But yeah, I think that, like you were just saying, Chelsea, the main crux of this movie is like about what drags you down. It's about cycles of violence, truly. Like, because this family is so messed up on so many levels. The family that Lou comes from, like Lou Sr., Chelsea Duff in the flesh,
Mhm.
is literally a mob boss of his own mob. An arms dealer, actually, and a rocker of a truly disgusting haircut. But I do love that he
What do you
loves
mean?
bugs because I love bugs. Sorry, Chelsea, I wasn't talking about you. You look great. He just doesn't pull it off.
Thank
Ed
you.
Harris just can't pull it off, unfortunately.
He doesn't wear it like I do.
Okay, Ed Harris does pull it off. I am so sorry.
No, he does. He
does.
literally
They
does.
gave him those extensions as a joke, apparently, and then they were like, "Well,
Well,
No way. That's
they're
so
like,
funny.
actually, he pulls this off so well.
It's so so perfect. Like what a iconic villain. But yeah, it's so sad to see like Lou being absolutely like in a dead end position where she wants so desperately to separate herself completely from her family and their messed up fucking legacy, but she can't without leaving her sister to die. Like it's a really interesting setup that they have here for the story. And then Jackie comes in and shakes everything up, and it's just so their chemistry is so fucking wow. Just whew,
It's palpable.
it's
Plus,
palpable.
the one thing that I liked most about this movie was it just kind of feels like it's not Kristen Stewart acting. Like she does all of her like quirky mannerisms all throughout the movie that like are her, that she like
Yeah.
got a lot of shit on for Twilight. So this just kind of feels maybe like lesbian muscle mommy Twilight.
this scene,
is.
when her dad is sticking his finger in the bullet hole, she was screaming like in the ballet studio in Twilight. I did have that thought.
There were a lot of Twilight moments that mostly come at the end of the movie for me, but we'll get there. But yeah, no, I mean, Kristen Stewart, I think, is a great actress, but like she definitely shines in certain roles, and this is one that would be perfect for her. And she knocked it out of the park. And I'm so into Katie O'Brien too. Like where has she been all my life? I guess I should have been watching Agents of
She's
S.H.I.E.L.D.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Was she in
She's-
Agents of Shield? Because I watched
That's-
Agents of Shield.
Apparently,
Let me
maybe
look.
I
Let me
misread
look
this
at this.
article. 'Cause I read an article about the end, and they were talking about the use of CGI and working with a gray screen in the background, and they're like, Katie O'Brien would have no problem with that because she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It said that, but I
Oh,
was
she's
skimming.
in 3 episodes.
Okay, good, great.
She was also in Ant-Man and Quantumania, blah, blah, blah. Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Oh.
Quantumania.
I haven't watched any of
And
those.
The Mandalorian. But I don't know what they do on The Mandalorian. I just know everything in Marvel is green screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely gonna have green screen for sure. But I just love the intro scene of them meeting each other. It was just so perfect. Just to see just especially after the juxtaposition with Daisy and how repulsed Lou was by Daisy and how much she did not give a single fuck. But then she just locks eyes onto Jackie, and it's on
And that's
Donkey
enough.
Kong.
Yeah, and she sees that man talking to her and she's like, no! Lights out!
Closed.
We're closing! Stop talking to each other! Get the fuck out of here!
Get
I
out.
loved that. I loved that so much. I was like, one of us. This is a very relatable movie because they do so many I don't know, some queer tropey things, but also very relatable things. Sometimes if you see your girl talking to someone you don't want them to be talking to, you're like, well, okay, I have the power to shut this shit down. Literally, I'm literally shutting it down.
Literally
I'm
shutting the
flipping
lights off.
switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn so much about these characters so quickly too in this first scene of them together. Jackie's character being so quick to violence in that scene with the big buff daddies. That's one of the things that was an interesting reveal over the course of the film, because obviously she gets rather violent later on in this movie, but just from the clues that we get, I think that she already had a penchant for violence even before the steroids came into the picture.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that's that guy, that phone call with her mom.
the phone call to home. Yeah. I mean, I think she lays it out medium clearly when she says, I was fat as a child, and so I got bullied a lot. And so I started working out to be big and able to defend myself. So I think there's an really implied, I started fighting back when I was young in there. And I think that has just kind of been her go-to, and that's how she stands up for herself, and that's kind of the only way that she stands up for herself.
She also, I'm 99% sure she said she's adopted too in that speech.
Yeah, she got adopted at 13.
So she's always been not an outsider, but you know what I mean? That's a different experience to be adopted into a family, And so she has that. She is being ostracized by her weight when she's younger. And then now being a bodybuilder, muscle mommy, that's not the average girly either. So
I know, and Kristen Stewart's like, they don't like that in Oklahoma, and she kind of does it implied yeah, I still didn't fucking fit in.
Shocker.
That still was not the vibe over there.
Yeah, see, and this is the thing. I had a really hard time swallowing what happens next in this movie after the first time I watched it, because I love Lou and I relate to her plight and whatever, but it was so hard for me to watch her start the process of the undoing of her love, which is Jackie, by bringing the steroids into the picture.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is part of the cycle of violence stuff that I brought up earlier, because I think that one, she thinks that she's helping, but she also by the end of this movie, I think one of the main points is that Lou is not as dissimilar to Lou Sr. as she thinks that she is, which is a horrifying thing to have to come to terms with. But you learn a lot from your parents and how they treat you. And so I was thinking that this bringing the drugs into it might have been an unconscious way of adjusting the power dynamics and that sort of a thing. He's trying to be alluring to Jackie by being like, I have this thing that you want, so you'll want me. But then it's also her having power over Jackie, whether she realizes that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a complicated issue because I think a lot of it is like you're saying, where it's just like I'm finding a way to be of value to you,
Yeah.
so that you keep coming back. And they kind of like get to that later after the dinner with Dave Franco and Jenna Malone's characters, where she's like, "Oh, you just wanted something from me," and it's like, well, that's kind of how you got the ball rolling, actually. So like, you're in this complicated space, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's really interesting because they have the beginning outside with the fight with the other guys. It's not that she's standing up for Lou exactly, but the fight starts because these men are being homophobic. They're like, "Oh, you know, she's a
Yeah.
big dyke or whatever, right?" And then Katie O'Brien's character is just like, "Oh, really?" Like she's like, "Okay, fabulous,"
Little did you
basically.
know,
Incredible for
I'm
me.
bisexual.
Yeah, and then these men are like, "Huh?" And it just, it gets out of hand really quickly because I think they touch her, and that's when she like turns around and punches
yes.
He
him.
grabs her arm and says, like, no, you're gonna come to the bar, something like that.
What? Yeah.
Pow.
She does have every single right to womp on him at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
for
when a
sure.
girl gets
And
grabbed like that, fucking ew.
I think she has a lot of trauma from previous physically violent encounters as well.
If she's
But I
been
think
like, what is it, hitchhiking all the way across the United States, like it's bound to have been a sketchy situation or two. This is in the
and
era of the serial killer.
we see the way that she reacts in the hospital later too, when it's like she hasn't even seen any violence directly, but the evidence of violence alone is enough to like shut her down.
Totally.
So I mean, I think it's is a power dynamic with the steroids, but it's also this sort of like, you're standing up to physical violence, I'm like cooling you down. Both of these sisters are like used to negotiating within having a violent person in their life, or a person who acts out in their life, that they need to sort of like cool down and kind of regulate for them. I don't know. I mean, obviously bringing steroids into the situation is also like so dumb. But it also for me
Yeah.
flags like, I don't know. I don't know when we discovered roid rage is a thing. My understanding is probably the 90s, but maybe not before 1989. I don't fucking know. But it's also just like, you can break the rules and you can do what you need to do to win and come out on top. And as long as you don't get caught, or as long as you have the ability to wiggle your way out of trouble, it's fine. And that's kind of what she's learned from her dad too, is like, you don't need to follow the law, or you just need to have the law in your pocket or whatever. Like, you just need to have the system on your side and it's fine.
Totally, yeah. She's got a warped sense of morality, though it is better than her dad's, Avi, but still
Only
not perfect.
slightly.
Who is perfect? But I looked it up, and livescience.com says that the term roid rage was first coined in the mid 1980s after a series of high profile violent crimes committed by bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Well-
So there was supposed to be a movie called yes, Jonathan Majors was in a movie about a bodybuilder who, like, in the 80s had like rage, aggression, all this kind of stuff. Magazine Dreams.
Ooh, I haven't seen that.
Well, it
This
got
seems
scrapped.
like
It got
Oh, it got scrapped.
because Jonathan Majors was like on trial for like assault.
For domestic violence.
Yeah, and so they pulled him from a movie about, him beating up, people.
Well, that's probably smart. That sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was for the best. Yep. That was a little
Yeah.
too on the nose. Yeah, that's interesting. There's a lot of articles I'm seeing here that are saying that road rage isn't real. So I don't know if it is or if it's not, but
Well, I Googled very scientifically, I Googled steroid side effects, and one of them is mood changes. So I think a lot of it is like, I'm sure it affects your hormones. It says high
yeah.
blood pressure is one,
And
indigestion, heart problems, poor sleep, upset stomach, depression, like all of these things where even if increased anger isn't directly a synonym, like it's gonna throw your whole shit out of whack. So,
and overusing anything is gonna
and you can
cause
see
you
she's
issues.
overusing it because she injects it between her toes where it's all bruised and purple and disgusting. Like she's
Totally.
clearly not using it responsibly.
Yeah, I mean, and Kristen Stewart, Lou, sorry, I'm gonna try to start saying Lou. Lou, couldn't have anticipated her usage and wasn't being such a controlling partner to be monitoring it, you know what I mean? That would also be problematic if she was like, "What are you doing? When are you doing it?" Blah, 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 you know what I mean? So, like, she thought probably that she was helping,
Well,
but alas, no.
one of my
Alas,
question
no.
about steroids was like, does it cause hallucinations?
Oh,
And
I think Monica asked that after we watched.
but Google, so I can answer my own question actually. It
Oh my
says,
God, independent
um,
woman.
yeah,
Same.
what can I say? So steroids can cause steroid induced psychosis, and they can develop
Mm.
hallucinations, mania, delusions, and cognitive impairment.
I also think,
Interesting.
if you're juicing a lot or whatever, and you're not drinking and not eating because you're trying to cut for a competition, bodybuilding. Oh, yes, I saw that as well. If you're, limiting your intake because you're trying to look really toy for bodybuilding competition, you're going to get faint as hell and you're going to start hallucinating regardless of your juice use.
Right? Juice
Yeah.
use. Heck.
Yeah. The combo though of like any sort of drug sort of thing and insane guilt might induce hallucinations.
And like shock, like obviously there's like a lot going
Yeah,
on in general. So
totally.
it's a mess over there for
Yeah.
her.
I love though the montage of them like falling in love and her like it's like a muscle it's like a classic like Rocky montage of Jackie getting buffer and buffer, but it's also like their love expanding with her muscles. Yes, that was
She
profound. It was
throws
Yes.
her cigarettes in the trash and the egg yolks. Like
I loved
the
her trying to quit smoking cigarettes.
I love the egg yolk thing. I love that. Okay, I love that she was psychologically torturing herself though with the nicotine thing, with like that tape that was like, "You're a little bitch," essentially. Like I don't know what she was trying to do to herself,
My dad
but
used to have those tapes. I actively
that's
remember
so
like
funny.
having those in the house.
yeah, apparently those were like real ones too. They didn't
Yeah.
like recreate anything for the sake of the movie. They just used the real audio.
That's so fucking funny. But the egg yolk thing I thought was like such a good like way to show how much Lou was simping for Jackie. I thought that was like a beautiful
Yeah.
way. Cause like
And also the way
Lou,
that Jackie's very willing to ask for a lot immediately.
yeah,
She's
I
like,
was like, whoa, okay, she just made you breakfast and let you live with her, and you're asking her to
and
fix
you're
the
like,
eggs
okay,
in
next
a
time,
rude
no
way.
egg yolks.
Um, this is called U-hauling, guys. I don't know
Oh,
if you know about it.
I've heard about it, and this is very literal. I mean, she doesn't have enough stuff with her to need a U-Haul, but
But
she's
they have a
just
cat.
night
They have a
one, they
cat.
live
They're moving
together.
in. Like it's
Night
perfect.
one, they live together. We love to see it. But I
She says,
love
I have
this.
one question for you, and it's, are you straight? No? Okay, great. Come on in.
I'll also flag a couple more things in this scene that like thematically come back later. I loved the song itself that was called like Transformation or something like that. I should look it up, but that was like one of the words that was like it was like transform me or transformation, something like that was being repeated throughout the song. So obviously fit in pretty on the nose with what's going on and what will be going on later. But also during that montage, like part of the time when the characters are just chilling in the house, they show a television that has a giant man holding up a tiny little person.
Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah. Oh, is that what that was? Yeah,
Mhm.
I loved that note. There's so many cool little Easter egg like thematic things that I noticed in this one, and I was like, good job, Monica, you have your brain on. But that one, I mean, is pretty obvious. But also, like, when we get to talking about the end and like the reality or in reality of it, like if it was how things were actually happening, this is a fun thing to point to be like, okay, if it wasn't real, that's where she got the idea from. If this was a hallucination, she just saw
Mhm.
Gulliver's Travels. So that's something
Giant
to think
man.
about. Giant man picking up a little guy. But I guess we should talk about the dinner and then the turning point. What would you do if someone you were dating turned out to have fucked the nasty little shit boy who beats up your sister?
I think unfortunately it might be a deal breaker. Like
Yeah.
obviously she didn't know who that was, and I'm not gonna hold it against her in the way that Lou does a little bit. I understand Lou just needed some processing time, but she was not being
Yeah.
nice. Like there are a lot of times where they're like kind of very toxic to each other. And so like I wasn't all in on the love story my first go around necessarily, or at least maybe until the big woman, and then I was like, okay, you got me.
You're like, big woman gets you every
Okay,
time.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sold. But there were definitely things I wanted to look out for in this watch and like see if I felt the same way about it that I did when I watched it in theaters. But yeah, I mean, I think even if you're not going to be shitty about it, it's still like things are clearly much more complicated now. And maybe we just don't touch that. You know what I mean? Maybe we don't go there. But circumstances being what they are in this relationship, in this movie, that also now means that you're kicking Jackie out onto the street and she's going to go sleep under a freeway overpass again. And it's like, the complicated feelings of being responsible for that as well. It's not like she has her own apartment to go back to. So
No, totally. I mean, they're kind of like roped into each other so deeply, and now it goes even deeper in the worst possible way. Like, I understand why Lou was as vicious as she was, because that's literally the person who is the reason that she can't change her life at all, is
yeah.
because JJ exists. He's
Mhm.
so like Jackie is the person who represents like a future that is different than what she has been stuck with for the past at least 12 years, longer than that, however long she's been alive. And then has fucked the person who is literally fucking her life over and fucking her sister life's over and is keeping her from a clean break. So like that is like mind shattering.
Yeah.
How do you come to terms with
Yeah.
that?
And it's also like, obviously, again, Jackie doesn't know JJ or what his deal is. I mean, she knows he's disgusting because after they fucked, he threw the used condom out the window onto the ground of the parking lot. And I said out loud both times I saw it, ew, because that is disgusting. How dare anybody ever
Okay.
behave that way? But
Have you not
obviously,
seen a million condoms on the ground? That's exactly what I would picture the guy who threw it out the window would look like. That's exactly what I picture.
Right.
Anytime I see a condom on the ground moving forward, I'm going to be like, it's a guy
that
with
was
a
JJ.
nasty little
It's
rat
this.
mullet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, obviously it tracks for him. And like, she knows he's not a great guy, but she's not sleeping with him because he's a great guy. She's sleeping with him because he can hook her up with a job, or maybe
Yeah.
also because she wants to have sex. I don't know. But
Didn't look like she was having a good time.
it didn't look like she was having a good time, but maybe she thought beforehand that it would be a good time. I don't know. Sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for, but yeah,
I think she was
mean,
using him a little bit because literally the second he came, she was like, so what about that
so about
job?
that job. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think they both knew what that exchange was for sure.
Yeah.
but she doesn't necessarily know that he is somebody who like beats his wife. You know what I
No,
mean? Like
no,
that's a
no.
whole other
Right.
different thing.
She just
No,
knows
of course
she's
she couldn't have.
a cheater, not a beater.
Well, does she even know that he's married? Like how?
She
Oh,
knows
This is
right.
like
that
a guy
he
who wears
is
his ring.
driving off and that he's being like, okay, best of luck out here. Don't sleep around here because it's dangerous, but I'm not giving you a ride literally anywhere else. See ya. But like, yeah, I mean, what a
Right?
mess.
Like if he doesn't have
What
a
a
ring
mess.
on, how is she to know he's even married?
What a mess.
I don't
And
know. I
also,
honestly don't think it would have stopped her anyway. I think she
It
would have
wouldn't
been
have.
like, I need to do what I need to do.
the other thing that's just so sad about this whole scene is just like there is really nothing that Lou can do to help in the situation with her sister because like she gets so fed up that she tries to defend her and that is what lands her sister in the hospital. Like that altercation, I'm sure. Because what's Jenna Malone's name in this? I'm so sorry.
Beth.
Beth. Beth is like, please don't go. You know, when
Yeah.
she goes to defend her, and then that's what that altercation happens that night. It's just truly such a fucking infuriating situation all around. Because I mean, it's impossible to leave when you're in an abusive situation like that. They obviously have a sort of like passionate love, passionate hate sort of relationship because Beth is so distraught later in the movie once it's come out that JJ is dead. That was just like a really hard scene to watch. That I was laughing really hard when he was using the chopsticks so badly. Because he is really just such a pathetic piece of shit, and it's just so frustrating that he has this power over Beth. Like it's just
Yeah.
so infuriating because he is the lamest fucking man alive. Like he can't use the chopsticks. He also like is trying to act all cool earlier in the movie to Jackie when he's introducing her to Lou Sr. for the first time. And he's like, just don't make a fool out of me. And then he slips and almost falls and eats shit immediately. Like he played this really well. Dave Franco did, being like a disgusting worm man. Maybe that's why Lou Sr. has collected him because he is a nasty
'Cause he
grub.
loves bugs.
Because he loves bugs. Lou Sr. loves bugs. But yeah, it's so things really just like blow out of proportion so quickly in this movie. I mean, I'm not saying it's a MacGuffin, but like things take such a hard left in this. I was watching it last night with Adam and my friend Isaac, and they like once it got to the violence scenes that we're about to get to, they did not see that shit coming at all. God, because I love the way that Katie O'Brien, like that whole scene is shot with they're finally in the hospital looking at what's gone on, what's happened to Beth. And she's just like completely disconnected from everything, singular focus, leaves her girlfriend having a fucking like very necessary tantrum in the room, in the medical room. Okay, that's not what it's called, but that's fine. And just drive straight to his fucking house. Like that was beautiful. And the way that they shot the violent scene too, I thought was so effective that they kept things mostly in shadow and like focused on her face. I thought that it was all the more like terrifying because like we love Jackie. We've fallen in love with her over the last 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden she's like a different beast now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting too because you're almost not, it's not that you don't know that he's dead at the end of that scene, but you don't fully realize how violent it was and the level of gore that exists in this room until Kristen Stewart comes later and starts the cleanup process, you know what I mean? So it's this really interesting choice narratively to like separate the act of violence from the evidence of violence. And I don't know. It's really interesting the way that like they give some of it to Jackie and they give some of it to Lou, and they're sort of like just this matched set dealing with a lot of it, kind of in the same way later with Daisy when Daisy gets got. You don't see Jackie pulling the trigger. You don't see Daisy getting shot. You just see the gore splattering across Lou, at least at first, and it's I don't know. It's really interesting the way that they like do the fallout and the cleanup and like the hand holding metaphorically of the characters for each other. But yeah,
No,
I mean Jackie just completely in shock in the hospital, just completely detached from what's going on around her, being like sorry, like wandering through life for those moments. That's so effective also.
it's so effective. And I will say, if you're looking really closely, two things to note in the actual violent scene when it is being perpetrated. When he falls off of the coffee table, you see his jaw go wah. So if you're looking at that, you can see that his jaw is no longer connected to his face. But another thing I wanted to point out in this scene is she's bigger in this scene.
She gets bigger,
Oh,
like
bigger than normal?
throughout the whole movie. Like you like see her get larger.
Well, she's getting like more and more muscular, but like it's like she's throbbed up bigger. Like if you look in that scene, I wasn't sure at first, but I watched it again and I was like, she is larger than life just compared to like how small he looks. I'm like, she definitely is like big in that scene, and she's throbbing too. And another thing, adding to the body horror of this entire movie, from moment one, the sound design really leaves crumbs that there's going to be something with that later on, because all of the hits and the different sounds, like when she punches that buff dude at the gym in the face and he punches her back, like the sounds are like louder than life, so gooey and gross and crunchy. And so it comes back in this scene as well too. And like that goes along with the whole pulsing of her muscles and the blood pumping and her muscles making that like squelch sound as they puff up throughout the movie. I just loved that. It's so visceral and so disgusting. And you, like you're saying, this like story like comes across in two parts with the gore itself. Like you see the violent action, but it's mostly in shadow. And then you see Kristen Stewart finding the body and you see the face, and it's so fucked up. So one of the interesting things about that, I read this article that was like an interview with Rose Glass, and she was like, yeah, so we did a lot of that with CGI. And so Kristen Stewart didn't know what his face was going to look like until she didn't know until she watched the movie when it was done, like maybe at the premiere. And she saw that look, that disgusting no jaw gore fest face, all that was left of JJ, and she was like, I would have reacted totally differently as an actor if I had seen that. But instead, she's like disgusted, but not that disgusted. Kind of like an like not a big enough response for like his face
It's
being
like a
fucking
freeze for
ripped
sure at
apart.
first. Yeah.
Yeah. But Rose Glass actually loved that because she was like, I think it adds to the fact that you can extrapolate from that Lou's character has seen like that much shit.
She's
Having worked with her
desensitized to
father so
violence.
closely, she's desensitized. Exactly. So I loved that detail. Little nasty detail. Yeah, because if I saw that, I'd be
Also,
like, ah.
um, just a little shout to a movie that came before. I watched Bound recently, and I've been meaning to
Oh,
watch Bound for a really long time.
I want to see
And
it.
I feel like I couldn't find it, but I didn't look that hard. I feel like during the original promo for this movie, there was like a TikTok of them all on the red carpet, like talking about their favorite sapphic movies, and one of them said Bound, and like Bound does a really similar thing. First of all, like lesbians in the mafia, so that's going on for sure, but also where like the violence kind of explodes out of nowhere and so suddenly and so strongly that you're like, oh my god, like what just happened? Like I
Yeah.
was not ready for it to escalate to that point. And I don't know, it's so interesting to see the way that media builds on itself for one, but also just the influences for this movie. I mean, I think this is so its own thing, obviously, and I wasn't watching this with like a lot of reference points the way that I often pull reference points, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I think that's a good one to check out. If you liked this movie, check out Bound, made by
I've
the
always wanted to
Wachowski
see Bound.
sisters.
Oh my God. Okay. That's going on the list for this week. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. So never mind. Anybody else want to take
She
it?
got too excited.
Yeah, I mean,
What
I
was
do
I
think
gonna
it's
say?
interesting the way that Lou immediately launches into caretaking mode, cleanup mode. It does kind
Yes,
of
that's it.
suggest like obviously we know she's been taking care of her sister a lot. We see it in the beginning even before the dinner scene. You know what I mean? She goes over to Jenna Malone's house. Her sister Beth has her arm her arm is broken. You know what I mean? And she has like two
Yeah.
kids running around. She like can't drive
Seriously.
them to school. um, so we know that she steps in this front. There are like these implications about her mom who isn't missing, isn't dead, is just gone. And like, what does that
Who
imply? And
knows
like,
where she is?
yeah, what does Lou believe about it? And then we obviously have like a conversation about it later. But so it's easy to imagine maybe she took care of her mom when she was younger to some degree. Like she's been taking care of Beth, even though I think Beth is maybe the older sister. Um, the
Seems
way
like
Yeah,
that
it, yeah.
Beth
she
gives
is
older sister vibes.
for sure.
Mhm.
And also Jenna Malone, just as an actress, is older. Not that that necessarily means anything, but for sure I got older sister vibes from her. Um, and I don't know, she is a caretaker for people, but she's also used to being involved with cleanup for crime. I mean, we see that with her dad. So her instincts just kind of
Totally.
kick in, I think.
I
Kristen
think it's
Stewart in this
also
movie is the embodiment of be gay, do crime.
I think it's also, speaking of the gay aspect of it, a testament to her undying love for Jackie because like she's watched her do something horrific that like is a huge fucking deal, you know? And like she doesn't have to risk everything for her, you know? This person has they've known each other 2 months. She's committed an insane murder that is good. Yeah, she said she fucking hated that guy and she wanted to kill him, but she never asked her to do this. And like she's like, I'm going to make sure that we are fine and you are fine and I love you and this doesn't change anything. So I honestly thought that that made the romance even more compelling because she was willing to do all of this stuff for her love and she was trying to be like so compassionate to her instead of being like fucking scared of her. I would be a little bit scared of her.
Kristen Stewart
Yeah.
is down bad for Jackie, like Daisy is down bad for Kristen Stewart.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's real. Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of my problem with it though, is while it is this like devotion of like you can do anything and I'll forgive you, that didn't sit well with me the first time around, especially when they're like at home and they have that escalation where Jackie's like, I'm still going to the bodybuilding tournament. I was always going to go to the bodybuilding tournament. And now because JJ is dead, you can come with me. And Kristen Stewart has to be like, no, girl, we got to be absolutely more chill than ever right now. We can't go anywhere. If we leave town, that's suspicious. And they have like this whole back and forth where Kristen Stewart's character, Lou, is like getting in her face. And so, like, on a second watch, it's really clear that it's like that's what happens is that she's getting in Jackie's face and she's not backing away. And that's why Jackie like fucking headbutts her basically. But I don't know. It just the first time around, especially with the backdrop of Beth, who question mark loves her husband, who certainly doesn't want to go to the cops about him, certainly doesn't want to turn him in, certainly covers for him a lot of the time, and then to see physical violence in their own relationship and like, I'll forgive anything of you, like, I don't know. It was something that I
It's a
needed to warm to, because it's not the same dynamic for sure, but it was like similar enough that I was like, I don't, if this weren't two lesbians, would I be rooting for it at all?
Well, that's the
But
thing. This is again goes into the cycles of violence thing. Like they are an imperfect and super toxic relationship. Like, yet it's super sexy, and you're rooting for them because like it's better than the alternative, which is like everyone's dead and they broke up. You know what I mean? That would suck. But like in reality, like I don't know if they're great for each other. And they also like it's just so hard to watch Lou, not that Lou's the aggressor in that exact moment that you're talking about there, but like again, like replay some of these same cyclical things that she hates and she said that she hates and she doesn't want that to be her life, but she plays it out again and again. So there's another situation. And it's also hard too because Jackie is acting insane,
Yes.
and she's not being responsible at all, and she literally just killed someone and now she wants to go be the star of this thing because it's her dream. But like again, she is literally drug addled right now, and
mhm.
she is not in her right mind, and she has not connected the dots over what she's just done, you know what I mean? So like they're just totally fucked up all around. They're just
Yeah. Ultimately, I had to
spiraling.
be like, you don't have to be perfect to be worthy and deserving of love.
Totally.
And you can have love before you've made yourself the most healthy person on this earth. And you can make mistakes in relationships and be forgiven for them, as long as it's not, a literal pattern of abuse. And while I do think, again, this is a toxic relationship, this is not necessarily a healthy relationship. They are certainly immediately codependent.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yep.
that doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to be an abusive relationship. So, and it's like
Yeah.
from both sides. So, not that that makes it better, but it does mean that it's not necessarily like so power imbalanced, because Lou's being shitty in the truck on the way home from dinner, and Jackie is in a fucking fugue state after killing somebody and is so unaware of and not able to regulate herself and her actions and her emotions. And she immediately, like, not that she stops to take care of Kristen Stewart, but she is like, sorry, babe. Like, she recognizes that, like, that moment
She
of
fucked up.
instinct was
Yeah.
not, yeah. So
Right.
I don't know. It was, like I said, I think I was not fully in until Big Woman. And then I was like, okay, well, this is
Well,
fun.
that's the whole point of that scene too, is supposed to be that they're like becoming like larger than life and moving past like their issues from before. That's
Well,
what it's supposed to be. It's like love conquers all. Love makes you bigger than yourself. Their love is bigger than them.
Mm-hmm.
The sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
well, and
But we'll get more
also
into it.
don't forget how at the beginning when she's talking to Lou Sr. at the job and he's like, "Do you like guns?" And she's like, "No, I like to rely on my own strength." And this
Mm,
is like the embodiment of that. He is, once she knocks him away from his gun, he is a small tiny man and she comes into her like strength.
She's a big
no, totally.
woman.
Totally.
Mhm.
No, I
We
love
all
that.
love the big woman trope. I'm just saying.
I
We
love the big
love the
woman.
big woman.
Obviously, I
We
love the
love
big
big
woman.
woman, little woman trope.
Oh yeah. Well,
Nobody
before we
loves
get to
that more than
big
us.
woman, yeah, before we get to big woman, little woman, we got to talk about when they really sealed the deal that some crazy body horror shit was in the mix. Which is the fucking tournament itself, or the bodybuilding tournament. She makes her way all the way to Las Vegas. And things are getting really fucking hairy because those guys that she hitchhiked with, those spooky big black goo goo eyes that they had, that was so scary. Like, she is so out of her fucking mind.
She is
And
not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's Coco Loco.
she's fully Coco Loco at this point. I loved the backstage, like everybody getting
Mhm.
ready, like the tanning just like area that they had to spray you and lube you up and all that stuff. I thought that was really, really fun. And I also loved too, even though again it is problematic, like she was fucking freaking out as she should be because she just killed a man and fled and is now going on stage covered in body oil. But I love that like she had a little happy hallucination of her baby girl, Lou, be like, "You got this, bitch." And
You
then she's
can
like,
do it, baby.
"You
That
are
was
so right."
lovely.
Vision
I
in my
can
mind.
do it.
I loved that scene too, like every part of it, but the beginning of it when Jackie is like doing her little poses and absolutely slaying it. Like she
Mhm.
is so strong, but it was also really funny seeing her in the lineup because she looked incredible. Don't get me wrong, Katie O'Brien looked fucking incredible, but like next to the actual bodybuilder women who were there, I was like, okay, that is an actress portraying a bodybuilder, and those are
Well, that's
bodybuilders.
not true because
Oh,
the
what?
reason that she got this role is because she was a bodybuilder. And when some like movie buff saw that they were casting for this movie and they were casting a queer
No way.
bodybuilder, somebody sent it to her and was like, you should try out for this.
Well, she fucking slayed it. Okay, maybe her ass just wasn't as giantly muscular. I don't feel like her
She
ass could
clearly
kill
has
me.
changed professions by now. You know what I mean? Like now she's an actress, then she was a bodybuilder. So she still has it in her, but you know, if you're being a bodybuilder, that is kind of your full-time thing.
She's
You
not at
don't
her
really get
max
to
gains, you know?
Yeah, you
Not
when
her
you
max
take
gains.
time off from that, you lose that so quickly. Like you have to be eating
Oh yeah.
14 rotisserie chickens a day and never drinking any water to maintain that.
I can't even like imagine. But I just love the juxtaposition because like you're fucking in it with her. You're like, damn, she looks great. She's killing it. Look at these poses. Euphoric, euphoric, euphoric. Damn, she's like looking into the tunnel. The lights change. She sees the visage of the man she just killed. Like that was such a fucking bitch slap. And it was so well executed cinematography wise. Oh, it was so cool. She
Every
like
cut
steps
to
back
like
from the edge.
every time they cut to the red light with Lou Senior or Lulu Junior,
Lulu.
and the crater, like that was so evocative and like well done and like visually interesting to be like, okay, what's the deal? What's going on? So
I
I
love
The red
that.
light
It's some-
has to mean something, right?
Well, there's another scene. I mean, it's the red light is like it's a negative memory, you know, it's like of this time where she crossed the line and she became him in that moment and actually killed a man. Lou did. Um, but it's also like the danger of that lifestyle. There's also this other moment with Lou Senior and Lou when they're in the hospital and they go to the Coke machine and the Coke
Mhm.
machine's red, the light from it is on their both of their faces in that same way that it is in all those cutback scenes. And so like I feel like it's like the danger of them working together is part of what that means.
or when his light shines on her. And I also think there's like a practical explanation also, which is that they're out at the fucking crater, man. Like it's dark, there's no lights out there other than the taillights from your car.
Totally. Yeah. That's what it literally is. But yeah. Also
I feel like it's a more symbolic meaning, you know?
it's symbolic
Blood.
as well. It's a movie. Everything's symbolic.
There's always
Uh,
deeper meaning if you think about it.
Also, I was thinking about it a lot and I was like really mad at first because I was like, why the fuck did they make him blow up? Why did they make JJ blow up? So then there's smoke and there's fire and they're definitely gonna find the body. And I guess that she wanted it to expedite it so it could immediately be pinned on her dad because she
Yeah.
thought that that would be like a surefire way instead of just putting him in the pit. Like they might pin it on her or pin it on Jackie even when
I don't
he's
think
just
she wanted him to
missing.
go away. I think she wanted it to be discovered immediately with another suspect. And a
Yeah.
suspect that would make A,
A lot
sense,
of sense.
B, who she maybe wants to take down, and like maybe she knows to some degree that that could have been what happened to her mom. I don't know. Maybe she
Also,
just
she knows
is
there's other
mad because
bodies
something happened to her mom.
there that if they
Yeah.
find the bodies, they could pin it on her dad.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's why she
totally.
takes it there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she just
100%. It just turns up the heat so quickly, literally, because there's a fire, and figuratively, because like they immediately know what's going on and that he's actually dead and that it's been a murder and all this stuff, you know? So it makes things come to a head much more quickly than they would have any other way. And I guess there wouldn't have been any way to pin it. They're gonna look for a suspect no matter what. So like give them one before they start thinking of one, I guess was what
yeah,
her whole motivation was.
quick frame
And-
job.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Why didn't the dad kill him?
He
Like-
respects Beth's wishes.
But
He's a
still,
feminist.
I'm sorry. If you were a parent and you see this guy beating the shit out of your daughter and you're this type of guy, are you, I get like, you know, you don't want to beat them up because, you know, sometimes that'll just make abusers want to regain control and like beat back. But
Mhm.
like,
I think
I
he
don't
was
know.
going to beat him up when he went to the house to look for him. I mean, I think that definitely would have been the cycle. I think honestly, a lot of the reason for why he hasn't put a stop to this problem years earlier is because he's the same kind of man. And so to
Yeah.
him, it's like, well, you shouldn't hit my daughter, but also sometimes you have to hit a woman to keep them in line or whatever is probably like he
The
probably
Sean
doesn't think
Connery
it's
quote
out.
Uh,
from 007. Yeah, sometimes you need that's literally a quote from James Bond.
oh,
look it
love
up. Keep
that.
going.
I
Keep
hate that.
going.
James Bond should not say that.
He
So
did
should
though.
we also not assume that, or should we also assume that he doesn't know that JJ is in fact an informant to the FBI?
No, I don't think he does know. And I don't know how much JJ
Knows.
knows or said or maybe was going to try and find out. I mean, we see the FBI come talk to Lou at her job and ask about her mom, and I think it's very possible that like right around then is when they first made contact with JJ also. It's possible they were just like making the rounds, you know what I mean? And like it just happened that quick, but no, I don't think he knows yet.
That was like a little shocking to me that JJ
Otherwise,
was
he for
an
sure would have done
informant.
something. Yeah.
Right?
No, I know, but I think that's
You can
that
hit my daughter,
goes-
but you can't go to the feds.
Right.
I think that goes back to the whole like point of the movie about like all of these characters being morally ambiguous, you know, like we love Lou, but she's done a bunch of fucked up things. We love Jackie, but she's killed a bunch of 3 people or 2 people. I don't know, maybe 3. We don't know what happened before she got to town.
We don't know what happened in Oklahoma.
We don't know what happened in Oklahoma. And then also JJ was like this villain 100% in our eyes. And then that's another wrench thrown in it. Like, okay, he's also was doing something maybe good, but you know, he also might have gotten caught to be forced into a position to do that. I don't think he's a good person, don't get me wrong, but it's just another thing to confuse your emotions. It's not straightforward, and that's what makes it so real. It
He
might have
got
been an actual
Jackie a
quote.
job. You know, that was kind of nice. She needed one clearly. So
Okay, all right. We don't need to go to bat for JJ. The
Oh,
quote
did
is
you
actually
see
from
at-
Sean Connery himself. Not in the movie.
Okay,
He was just
good.
in an interview, and he said,
yeah, he's just an abusive
that-
piece of shit.
yeah, there might be something in James Bond as well, though, because that shit's misogynistic. But it is.
Oh, I'm sure
Some
it
of them are-
is.
Some of them are fun.
Did you see
Even
at
womanizing
the
international spy.
Did you see at the Sundance premiere of this where they had all the cast on and Dave Franco was like, yeah, my character, his childhood, just like, you know, really getting into the mind of what could have blah blah blah. And Kristen Stewart literally was like, shut the fuck up.
No, I haven't seen that, but I'm glad she said it.
That's so funny. That's
It was
so
like,
funny. Let me
"Oh,
just get
his
into the mind of
it
childhood."
was
the
like nobody
user.
gives a shit about what's in the head of the wife beater. Thank
Oh,
you.
the interiority of your character. I'm sure it was so hard to develop. Whatever. If that's your process as an actor, that's fine, I guess. But let's not spend our limited time on this earth talking about that instead of anything else.
Okay, well, here's something we should be talking about. Remember that part where Jackie throws up Lou?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I loved that part.
Where Chelsea was dressed up just like that before she
I know
decided on
you
Lou
guys
Senior.
missed it, but like 5 minutes ago, I was covered in Vaseline.
If you had done
No, I
that,
mean-
everyone would be so horrified we would not be able to speak.
I thought
I don't
about it,
wanna
but
see
I
you
was
that
like, I
gooey.
just washed my hair earlier today, so I had to
It's
put
a
it
waste
off.
of fossil fuels.
Next time, right before I shower, maybe I'll get all lubed up and take a picture for social, but
It can be
probably
your
not.
pre-shower
Also,
makeup or whatever.
perfect. You know how people do slugging? I'll do that, and I'll get it in my hair for some reason as well. But yeah, I mean, I knew there was a fucked up vomit scene in this movie because Monica and I saw it together the first time, but Monica I think had been out of town and I'd been really trying to see it for a while, and I almost got one of my friends to go with me, and then she's like, wait, just let me ask my boyfriend if it's gonna be too body horror for me, and he was like, there is a vomit scene in there that you will not be able to handle, so she didn't come. And so I was like, I wonder what it's gonna be like. I don't know. Like, is it just she doesn't like vomit scenes? Because, like, yeah, sure, that's gross and a lot of people don't like that. But when she vomited out gooey,
Kristen Stewart.
it's almost like a birth. You know what I mean? Like when babies
Yes.
come
Looks
out all
fetal.
gooey. Yeah, 100%. And she vomits her up because babies are kept in the belly. It is wow. It moved me.
It was so disgusting.
got
and I
baby
was like,
voice, too.
why? I was like, why would this be why would this be in it? You know, I liked it and I'm glad that it was in it and it was crazy, but I was like, what does it mean? And I think it's supposed to mean that it's like how like their love they have like
I
consumed
carry
each
you
other.
with me everywhere I go. You're inside of me forever, except for when I
Well,
vomit
yeah,
you out.
but, like their love is so intense. It's like cannibalistic. They've like filled each other up with each other, and then she's barfing her up. I don't
They
know.
want to consume each other wholly. You know that saying how like I tell Taylor this all the time. I'm like, what do you mean you won't let me live in your skin?
That's
I'm
exactly
trying
what I
to
was
crawl
thinking.
inside.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Kristen Stewart has crawled inside her forever, and now she just has to go and barf her up. A little
she missed her so much she barfed her up. But I also think it's like partly to be like her realizing like she shouldn't have fucking been there, you know? She shouldn't have left and gone to this tournament when like she's left behind her love to deal with the
Like a
aftermath of
vulnerable
what she
newborn
fucking did.
baby.
Yeah, she's like, I think it's like her guilt also boiling up and coming out of her fucking throat, fighting its way out of her throat. Yeah. Oh God. It just sucks because she's just still so vulnerable, you know. She has done all these terrible things, and then she beats the shit out of a poor woman who was
Because they look so
doing the
scary
contest.
on the side
did
of
look
the
so scary.
stage.
Also, did you hear what they're whispering? They're like, "Oh, you little fatty, did you eat too much, you little
Yeah.
fatty?" That's what they were saying at the time, and so it's obviously not.
I bet they weren't
true.
really.
That's not
Yeah.
happening. No, it's like her childhood thing because she used to, you know, be bigger, and so that was really interesting too. I didn't catch that until the third watch. So there was a lot of stimulus at that time, so I'm really picking up on the audio there. But it just sucks that like the timing once again. Actually, here's another parallel to Twilight. Are you ready? Let's go.
Oh, I know what you're gonna
You
say.
ready? You fucking ready? So
Uh-huh.
what happens next is Jackie calls Lou and is like, "Hey, can you come pick me up? But before she can do that, Daisy picks up the phone and is like, fuck you. She doesn't like you anymore. She likes me now. This is the exact same thing that happens in New Fucking Moon.
Yep.
When Edward calls Charlie
And
to be
Jacob
like,
answers the phone.
yeah, to be like, is she dead? Is Bella dead? And then fucking Jacob is like, he's at the funeral, but it's actually another dude's funeral. And then Edward's like, I'm gonna kill myself.
What if I killed myself right now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess because
Another-
like again, they have that out later on also when they talk about Daisy at the tennis court or whatever. But before that, you know, all that Jackie knows is that she left and Daisy immediately moved in, and she knows how fast Lou moves sometimes. And
Mhm.
maybe if she was in her right mind, she could put the pieces together for herself and say, obviously, Daisy saw us when we were driving the cars to dispose of the body, and that's a loose thread that needs to be addressed. But instead, she is not able to make those logical connections. She's just like, I've been replaced, I've been rejected. I'm explicitly being told that Lou doesn't want to talk to me, and Lou is over there. We know that she does not like Daisy. Before Jackie even came into the picture, we saw that
No.
she does not like Daisy, does not have any interest in Daisy, is just trying to shake Daisy off, but she's like, I'll do what I have to protect Jackie. And when Jackie is doing something horrible to protect someone, it's violent. And when Lou is doing something kind of horrible to protect somebody, it's
She is.
she's got to, you know, use different tools. She's a different person. She doesn't have the big muscle body that Jackie has.
She's like mentally manipulating Daisy, who's already an easily manipulatable person because she's not all there herself, as we
She's on meth.
talked about. She's on meth. She's having a hard go.
She down bad
Um,
too.
And she's down so bad. And fucking Lou is working her to get where
Mhm.
she wants to go. And it's masterfully done. But again, when you think about, like, when you're watching it just on its face, you're like, okay, she's doing what she has to do. But it's just like, it's really scary that she can do this so well and like wrap her around her finger so quickly. And it's like, again, like, where did she
And like
learn
have
that
sex with
from?
her.
Have sex with her and then flip it around at the diner and be like, hey, like, please don't tell on Jackie, because if you tell on Jackie, then it's going to come back around to me, and making it about like Daisy caring for
You care about
Lou and
Lou.
making
me,
sure.
right?
Yeah. It was so manipulative, but beautifully done. I mean, if you got to do what you got to do, then she done did it. But it's just so sad because like Daisy's character is just is so sad. She's so
Yeah.
smitten, and she
Yeah.
pays the ultimate price.
It is another one of those everybody's a little bit gray moments too, because it's like obviously Lou is manipulating Daisy. Daisy is also kind of presenting an implied threat of blackmail to
If
get
you
what she
don't.
wants, which is Lou. And
Yeah.
she doesn't necessarily say, I'm going to call the cops on you, but that's because they're good right now. She says, I was thinking I'd call the cops on Jackie. She's like, I do want to call the cops. I'm just going to point them in a different direction than you. But I mean, there
Yeah.
is that whole, it's like, I don't know, it's so yucky on both fronts because you can imagine how betrayed Daisy would feel putting the pieces together when she is so desperate to have love with Lou and to give love to Lou. But also, she is not coming in from a good place either. She's coming in being like, you have to listen to me. I'm first of all cornering you at work, and I'm coming up to your car at a red light, and I am, you know, like
She's like a stalker.
Daisy
Yeah.
has said, I am the captain now, actually, and I'm driving this boat.
yeah.
And she's driving it for about 2 minutes before she gets shot in the back of the head.
She got murked.
Yeah. Whoa.
That was my
was
favorite part
so
of the movie.
jarring. Oh my god. They do such a good job of fucking sucker punching you in this movie. Like, talk about like a cool new way to do a jump scare, you know? You're not even seeing, again, you don't see the violence like you were talking about earlier, Chelsea. Like, we don't see the trigger being pulled. We don't see the bullet like going through her head, but you see like right after she barfs because she got too drunk on margaritas. That's also demeaning
Sad.
too. She just went barfy. So
Mhm.
you think maybe for a second, like, did she just barf on her? Because Daisy had literally just barfed, but then her brains are being splattered. Not actually. All over fucking Lou's face. Poor Lou. Lou's had a bad couple days.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also Jackie points the gun at Lou, and like obviously we understand that again Jackie is not well, and Jackie is now working under Lou Senior's instruction, and she's also committed another act of violence that I'm sure is going to be hard to recover from as the perpetrator. But
she's just spiraling, and
woof.
she's
Yeah.
also like
And she's
under the
also like, oh, you don't
control
want
now
me? You
of
moved
Lou
on
Senior.
and you like Daisy now? You're here with Daisy? You're bringing Daisy back to your house? Like,
It's brutal. That was such a shock, and I just love the way that Kristen Stewart played it. Like, it's just so funny. Lou being like, "Fuck," because now she's got even more blood that she has to clean
a
up.
second body? How much blood must one woman clean up? She's like, I already did this once, and every time that I'm just about done cleaning up, somebody comes by. Like, I'm cleaning up at JJ and Beth's house, and my dad and one of his guys come by, and like now I'm cleaning up here, and the feds are trying to come by, and I gotta fucking hide a body in my apartment from the feds.
And the feds are in the apartment. Like, that was
Her
so
hair is
insane.
hanging out, and my cat is over there, and my cat is
Licking.
surely gonna start
The
doing
cat's
cat
licking up
shit.
the blood.
Okay, I am a little bit upset that she didn't have enough time to get her cunty little red jumpsuit to clean up this other crime scene.
Oh my god, I loved the
This
little
is
like, this
my-
is my blood cleanup outfit, and it
Mhm.
makes sense because it's red, so you can't see the stains.
Oh, I should have worn my cunty little red jumpsuit that I got from Monica. No.
Oh yeah,
It
I
looks
love it when
very
you wear that.
us. Also, that's her
Yeah.
tether.
Yeah, that'll be perfect when we eventually do us. Oh man, I love this movie. I love how it ends, but I hate this next little bit though. Cuz I just have a really hard time. Like, yes, of course, we have the moment where our girlies get back together and they love each other again, and oh, isn't that so great? But we have to get through Lou literally abusing her sister in the way that she was trying to protect her from before.
Mm.
And that is really what I think what like knocks Lou down a few pegs is like such a gray character. You know what I mean? Like, she really is much more similar to her father than she wants to ever believe, and that is heartbreaking. But like the fact that like her whole fucking steez for years has been to protect her sister, and then now her sister is the roadblock in the way to her new love and her new life, and she treats her the same way. That was just really, really terribly hard to watch.
Yeah. I think it's so complicated because it feels like it could be very not normal exactly, but it could be a fair level of sister on sister fighting if she's not literally clawing at the injuries that she has from her abusive husband. Like,
Yep.
that definitely escalates it beyond a normal sister low blow.
Yeah. No, that was just like horrific, and they move past it so quickly, so you're just like, ah, as a viewer, like, what just happened? You almost forget about it because it's like a 45-second scene, you know?
Yeah.
And it moves so quickly into big woman shit. But that part really hurt.
But again,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it's the gray nature of the characters because Beth up to this point hasn't done anything wrong, and now she's saying basically like screw you and screw Jackie, and I'm willing
You-
to let Jackie die because of
She
my
killed my
husband. Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
And she
She killed-
loved him even though he was the worst man in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you see how everyone is like willing to enact violence and has violence enacted against them.
Totally. This is a fucked up family. One thing I just want to point out before we get into the big crux of the big ending, I think that it's really funny how fucking ugly Lou Senior's house is. It's so fucking funny. It's
I also love his
so
wife like running
grandiose,
out and being like, fuck you, Lulu Jr.
ruining
And Lou is just like,
everything.
yeah, like, why do you gotta do this? And now I have to flee here with the kids in the car. And it's like, Beth is here. First of all, you didn't even pick your sister up at the hospital. And Lou is just like, okay, bye, see ya. Like, gotta go.
They also have like that grandiose like painting of either just Lou
Uh-huh.
Senior or the two of them hanging of the fireplace. I thought that was so funny. I just like it's such a small part of the movie, but I really thought that added to it. Because like we don't get a ton of Lou Senior, but what we do get is so awesome. He's such a character. He's a horrible person, but like I love the bugs. I love that he ate the bug in his rage. Like that was
Yeah.
so cool. I was just like, oh, ew. He's
Mhm.
so nasty. You learn a lot in a little bit of time about these characters. I think they did a really good job of like expanding the less central characters through like visual storytelling and that sort of thing, because this is only 1 hour and 42 minutes, and look at that,
Yeah.
folks.
And
We
they
can
fit
have
in
so many things happen.
fights.
Yeah,
Because
we
there's
can have
that
so much going
whole
on.
showdown with Mike, the police officer, too, who's on Daddy's payroll, who, you know, was it wise of Lou to tell Big Lou, I'm going to tell the feds everything on you? No, because A, now she's pissing off her dad, but also now it's not just in Daddy's hands anymore. Now this police officer is like, well, I'm not going down with you because your daughter is throwing a tantrum. So I'm going to stop that problem before it starts. But that, like, Daddy owns a gun range. You think that Lou Jr. doesn't know how to use a gun? You think she doesn't know how to use a gun to defend herself? Like, let's think, Mike.
Let's think for a second. Yeah. Oh man. I really could never have expected the big woman thing. And the signs
Yeah.
were so there. They were definitely there. They did a great job of planting them. We talked about the Gulliver's Travels things. We've had this expansion throughout. We have the moment when she's really big right after she's killed JJ or as she's killing JJ. But this was so cool. Just before that though, I do think that emotional scene with the confrontation of Lou Senior and Lou Junior is so incredible too, because he is a horrible man, but he's telling it to her straight. Like she's like, I'm not anything like you. And he was like, wouldn't that be nice if that were true? Like just the most savage way to say it, and like the revelation pretty much that like he definitely killed the mom. I mean, we'd assume
That's
that
so
already.
interesting, though, because I actually think there's room to believe what he says, which is that he found out that she was talking to the feds and basically said, I'll kill you if you don't leave. I think it's possible that she did just go and leave her kids behind and say it's kind of too late, especially if Lou Jr. is already all wrapped up in this and is killing people for her father. And like, maybe
It's
she did just
purposely
go.
ambiguous, but I think that also just by the like ages of them, she would have been like, how old do we think Kristen Stewart is? If it was 12 years ago, then she was like 17 years old. You know what I mean? If we're assuming she's
Could have
like
been in her 20s, early 20s. I mean, I don't know. She's like 34 or 35 in real life.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is ambiguous. It could go either way, but because he's so not quick. There's a lot that goes on, but that so willing to enact violence on his own daughter, like, leads me to believe that
He'd have no problem with
he-
it. Yeah.
he'd have no problem killing his
I
wife.
think I do feel like he like not that he lets Lou off easy. Obviously, we see him literally shoot her. But I think before it got to that point, he was kind of being like, "Don't fuck with me." So I think there is space where he might be like, "Okay, one chance, get the fuck out of here, and I better never, ever, 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 ever hear from you again." But yeah, obviously it's really easy to believe that he killed her also or had Mike
I
kill
don't think
her
he-
and
I don't think he'd let there be a witness out there.
especially like daughters are different than wife.
I don't think he'd let there be a witness out there. That's not a clean cut. He's a mob boss. He's like,
He's
you
doing
can't
the damn
have-
thing.
He's killed so many other people before and put them in that pit. You know, I don't think he'd let there be a loose end. But that's just me. I think it's supposed to be purposely ambiguous. That's what a lot of the articles that I read said. But I really think that he killed her. But I just loved once she actually became big. What is that painting of the Titan eating the guy? There's this
Jupiter
painting.
concerned
Yes,
consuming his son.
Saturn devouring
Saturn.
one of his sons. Oh, that's not even the exact one. Yeah, it's Saturn devouring his son Francisco. Oh, or
Francisco
his son by
Goya.
Francisco de Goya. And that was like so perfectly what I was seeing. Like, I love that painting, by the way. It's so disgusting. You should look it up. But when she picks him up and she fucking breaks his arms and stuff too. She's like pulling him apart. Like, again, the sound design in this moment, like, and in the transformation scene too. Disgusting. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think it is this like beautiful moment. They've had this confrontation again on the tennis court. Jackie is pointing a gun at her again, which is not ideal. But what I loved about that scene too is the way she like fires all of the bullets into the air or into the side or whatever. She's like, no guns, no more guns. I told you I don't like guns. Like, this is not part of this. We're
But
not
also-
doing that.
The drama of that moment, because she's like, I wish I never met you. Pa, 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 pa.
Right.
I loved that. I was like,
Yeah.
this is such a it's like she's saying like tantrum shit, but she has a gun. Like, it was great.
Yeah, but then Kristen Stewart is like, get out of here, like, go. And she can't leave her. She comes back for her. And thank God she does, because what would have happened otherwise? We needed a big woman to come in and tear daddy apart and pin him down. The way she just like holds him in place so easily, so sweetly,
Yeah.
almost, so that Lou can do what Lou will have, whatever her choice is.
Yeah, I love that Lou doesn't kill him.
Oh,
It's
Well, I think
Father's
it's also-
Day.
that's his Father's Day gift. Well,
It's
I
for
mean, it's more
Father's
of a
Day.
punishment for
Yeah,
him to
exactly.
have to live and go through all the pain. But I think it's also
And get
like,
caught and go
Exactly.
to jail.
yeah, exactly, because he'll actually be punished instead of just having the sweet release of death. But she does, make his mouth bleed from the gun, so at least
Yeah, it's like-
there's that. But it's so funny too, because I feel like this like part right here is like the fake out ending, because it's like, oh,
Mhm.
look, she's not gonna kill him. She isn't like him. She's setting a new precedent. Now she's big too, and they're running through the stars. And this part also reminds me of Breaking Dawn when she becomes a vampire and she's running and she's all sexy or whatever that dream sequence shit is. You know what I'm talking about. And you think like, oh, they're running off into the sunset. But no, I really like that Rose Glass chose to bring back this extra scene at the end when they're on their road trip out on the lam. And again, she's faced with a question of morality and she kills Daisy.
She's got to be just as complicit as Jackie. Yeah.
She said,
Yeah.
got him.
Yeah.
And Jackie's
That
just
poor-
asleep with their cat.
Poor Daisy, dude. She's just
Rough
like
go for
banging her head
Daisy.
against the truck. Like, oh my God. That is just so sad. And the look in her eyes, though, the look in her eyes when she's like looking at her love. and she's got a bullet wound in her fucking face, and then she's chokes her out. I was laughing at the end. I'm sorry, that's mean to Daisy, but it was just so funny.
I
Then
giggled at the end. I will not apologize.
the music and dragging the body out to that song, and she's like annoyed in the the middle of the desert trying to deal with this body. Like, ugh, I love them. They're bad people, but I love them.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun that they drive off into the sunset. It is fun that their drive off into the sunset gets interrupted. And it's also fun that they go, and now we're going to cut to the credits and look, they're dancing in the red
Right.
light. They're dancing in the light.
It's perfect. It's so good. Okay, I think it's time for.
Segamuntos.
Wow, thanks for cutting off that yawn early to bring the
You Chelsea.
So-
That's how I
Another
feel when
visual
you say
guide
it.
for the YouTube crowd.
Well, too bad. I'm never stopping.
We must ask the age-old question: how could this movie be gayer? 5 more sex scenes.
Yeah. Kristen Stewart
Yeah, there
saying,
were
"Good
so
girl,"
many.
700 more times in this movie.
Mhm.
Kristen Stewart on repeat saying, "I want to stretch you."
Yeah. Ah, Kristen
Yeah,
Stewart more
that's
times saying,
Monica
"Show
signing
me how
off."
you touch yourself." Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Whew, that was crazy. Yeah, that shit was crazy. There was
They-
some
Kristen
foot
Stewart, the
stuff in
woman
this,
you
too.
are.
Yeah, there was foot stuff because she lit her toes on fire and then sucked them.
That
Well,
was
she
fucked
took a
up.
big
If
bite
somebody
out
did
of
that to me,
one
I'd be really
first.
mad.
I know. I would be like, okay, immediately dumped. But you guys do
Kick
your
in the
thing, I
face.
guess.
If you're lighting
yeah,
me on
I'm-
fire, I can kick you in the face. Like, I think that
Mhm.
is allowed.
Mhm.
I won't knock it till I try it. So
I'm
Psycho
sure it would be
girl.
really motivating to do pull-ups or whatever. Maybe that's exactly the kind of training and support that Jackie needs.
Oh
but-
my god.
I mean, one thing that could have been not there is it's not biphobia exactly, but it's like a little sprinkle of it,
Agree.
which is also in Bound. So maybe this is just a trope of the genre that we can't avoid. And I think like
It is the 80s.
it is the 80s, and also I think, I understand the experience of being the very visible dyke in town, being like, am I just some straight girl's experiment? You said
Yeah.
that's not what's happening, but now I have evidence that you've fucked a man, and so now I'm triggered into a place where maybe this has happened with other people before. Again, you can fuck men and also fuck women, so like, just a reminder for everybody, it can be both. But yeah, they have a conversation like that in Bound as well, which is just like, bisexuality does exist. It does exist, you guys.
It does. I'm sitting right here.
Same.
They could have gotten into gender stuff for Lou, though. That would have been a good way to not make it
That would be
gayer
cool.
necessarily, but introduce other queer elements, because I think it is kind of right there, and she doesn't necessarily have to have any like gender questioning or alternate gender identities going on, but it could have been fun and it would have been easy. And I don't know how you would have worked it in necessarily, but
Yeah, it's a time period.
yeah.
But also, one of the things that I really liked about this movie was like the fact that they were in like a queer relationship, like wasn't a big driving factor. It was like this movie's
Yeah.
full of plot and they just happened to be in a queer relationship, which was like
there
Yeah,
was that
totally
homophobia
nice.
from the guy in the beginning, and that was
like,
like the
that's-
obstacle about it, right?
And that's just like so natural too. And like
Yeah.
because like especially in 1989, like that's what you were getting.
Mhm.
So,
Totally.
like it didn't feel, it was like, oh yes, this is the main central plot, is that there's the homophobia and blah blah blah. And so it was
Well,
like
it's not.
really nice to just see like
Yeah.
this would have happened in their relationship.
And also, so many of the specifically lesbian movies that we get are like, or like women and loving women, movies that we get are like, like pining, 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 kiss, dead. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's great that this movie was like
They get to fuck a lot.
immediate fuck, like
Mhm.
immediately, like they're in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
don't have to worry
Like,
about crossing
these
those
bitches
barriers.
fucking.
Yeah, it's already done, you know? And there's a time and a place for those type of movies. I love pining personally, but we're good. We checked
Yeah.
that box. Let's see some news stories.
I also think it's great that like you said, the homophobia isn't a plot obstacle in the movie. Because, you know, while we talk about homophobia in society and how you couldn't be openly queer in the same way that you can today, that's true, but also a lot of people were doing it anyway. It's not like queer people weren't existing and living their lives a lot of the time over the years. So to be like, it's not a plot obstacle, it is part of the world, but it's not part of this story. I think is also nice. You know what I mean? It's a part of life, but it's not everything in life, and
Yeah.
it's always been there. But there's also always been queer people who are just living their lives.
Yeah. Sometimes there's more pressing matters than how gay you are, and it's that you killed someone.
And it's murder. It's be gay, do crime. Like,
Exactly.
it's perfect.
Sometimes you have to focus on the crime real quick, and then you can focus on
On the
being gay again
gay.
right after. They do a great job of dividing time between gay and crime in this film, I have to say.
I need the perfect balance of gay and crime, and this movie gives it to me.
I mean, it's already a pretty gay movie, so we talked about it the whole time, but any more gay thoughts you'd like to share?
So many more gay thoughts.
Where would we put Matthew Lillard in Love Lies Bleeding?
Okay. I think he could be the hired, like the cop on the payroll.
Mike,
Yeah.
He could be Mike.
I
I
would
love-
maybe put him as one of the feds, actually.
Oh.
Ooh,
As
he'd be
See him
a
as a
O'Reilly?
nice, upstanding guy.
Or
Who's
the one
also who's
reading that
coming
like
into the
macho slut.
gym. But also just like him coming into the gym and being like, hey, like, what's the deal? What's going on? I'm a friend of your dad's for sure. I think that could have been an interesting spot for him. And also imagine him like leaning over the table being like, you know, people who speak up against your dad have a habit of disappearing or whatever. Like I think
Yeah.
a little different than the juiciness of the Mike role. It's I don't know. I think that calls to me for some reason.
I feel that. I also would love to see him in the weird hair of Ed Harris. Though Ed Harris slayed this so hard, he's so good. I'd love to see Maddie do a villainous role like this. Very sick nasty. Even no. Pretty sick nasty in our latest film with
He-
Matthew Lillard that we did.
I've changed my mind about his casting, and I'm also combining it with our previous segment. I think that he should have been the stepmother, and it's a stepfather, and that's Ed Harris's
Ooh.
new partner.
I love that.
And you just see him for 1 second, like leaving the house with the kids, being like, "Ugh, Kristen Stewart, you're fucking shit up."
But we also get to see a beautiful painting.
The
of him.
portrait, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
It's very
Okay.
important. Portrait of Maddie Lily on fire. I'm sorry.
And they're like,
Oh.
me and my love,
Beautiful.
Maddie Lily. Yeah.
I love that. Sold.
Yep.
Okay. Dumb bitch. It's got to be JJ.
Yeah, he kind of gets everything in motion, you know? Like Jackie and Lou probably would have met at some point regardless because she would have gone to the gym. Seems like it's the only fucking gym in town.
Mhm.
And he's the one that fucked Jackie and beats his wife and then escalated the
falls
plot because he had
down.
to get murdered and
He can't use chopsticks.
he can't use
The
chopsticks.
chopsticks alone, dumb bitch.
Yeah, it's fine if you can't use chopsticks. Just don't be weird about it. Use a fork.
Yeah.
It's fine. And
It's
then when
fine.
somebody suggests that maybe a fork would be useful for you, don't demean your wife.
It's okay to not be good at chopsticks. They're hard sometimes, okay? So sometimes you got to use a fork, and I understand. Dumb bitch, yeah, for sure. He's a dumb bitch. Cuz Lucy
Everything
is
about
too
him is
good
dumb.
at being a mob dad. A mob
Mhm.
dad. Okay, there you go. He's a mob dad. He's too good at that. He got away with it for so long. He's not dumb. He's smart. He's just evil.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that brings us to our knives out of fives. Chelsea, take it away.
This movie on IMDb trivia only has a 6.7 out of 10. And if that feels low to you, don't worry, because on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 94% fresh from critics, which is crazy high. And it has 82% fresh from audiences, which is also pretty good. Again,
Yeah.
it is relatively recent. It's a relatively new movie. It seems like it might even still be playing in one theater somewhere, as far as I could tell when I Googled it earlier. But it did hit up at least one festival. It played at the Berlin International Film Fest, where it was nominated for Best Feature Film. So it didn't win, but it was nominated. So, you know, it got a little critical acclaim in that sense too. And I wouldn't be
It premiered
surprised
at
if we
Tribeca,
see,
right?
don't know.
I think it did.
I didn't like look up the film festivals that it went to. I just like looked up its awards
Oh,
and
okay.
saw that it was nominated at the Berlin International Film Fest. So
That makes sense to me that people in Berlin would fuck with this.
Oh yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go. Like I said, some elements of it like took a while for me to come around to warm to. But I think it's a really well made movie. I think it's really beautiful. I love the ending. I think if you're not sold, you will be once you get to that point. I love the way that Jackie vomited up Gooey Lou. I think that was great. I I think that it's a really well made movie. They clearly are like so into each other that it's hard not to be along for the ride at the very least. Like you don't have to be rooting for them necessarily, but you understand why they're doing so much for each other. Like Jackie is killing a man for Lou. Lou is cleaning up crime scenes for Jackie. They're not a good match, but they also are a good match. But I like them. I like them driving off into the sunset together, whatever obstacles they have overcome and may still be ahead of them. That said, the first time I watched it, I didn't like I said, there were some things I was not sure about in a lot of ways. Rewatching it, I had trouble like dialing in. I think this really was a movie that was best seen on a big screen, so I'm not sure how much like rewatchability it has for me necessarily. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it like a 4 knives out of fives, I think, because like pretty good, lots of fun, lots to enjoy about it. But I'm not like desperately in love.
Fuck yeah.
But I love how much gay sex there was, so that's great.
I was originally going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5, but when I watched it again on like the second go round, I like either the first time I was like tired or all this kind of stuff. I really, really liked it the second time. Like I felt way more connected to it, which again, just I don't know. I think all movies you should at least give like 2 watches unless you're like, I really fucking hate this movie.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
like I think like if I had made my family watch it, they would have been like, Sydney, what the fuck? And they would have never wanted to watch this movie again. Where I was
Mhm.
like, well, I like this movie. I'm glad I have to watch it again for, you know, podcast reasons because now I like it even more to the point where like I probably will absolutely make Taylor watch this one with me and be like, what are your thoughts on this?
What are your thoughts?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts? What are your
Would you
gay
do that
thoughts
for
on this?
me?
Oh yeah. I'm like, would you murder people for me like this?
Would you
Oh.
lick chocolate syrup off of my chest as I drink the protein shake?
Like, are
Oh,
you gonna light
God,
my
that
little
was so
toesy
hot.
woesies on fire them and then suck them
We need to
for
know.
science?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you gonna give it?
4.
4.
Nice.
Okay, sick. Let's see. I really, really like this movie. Similar to Sydney, it was a big grower for me and a shower. I loved it in the theater experience because it was
Yeah.
so overwhelming. I was like, holy shit. But watching it again today, like I found myself being like really, really, really sucked in. And I was really like kind of won over even more by like the cycle of violence aspect that I brought up like 14 times on this episode, just because like I think it is so interesting, Lou's character, how she thinks that she's past it, but she's perpetuating some of these same things over and over again. And it's just really interesting having such like such morally great characters, falling in love and you still love them and you still want them to figure it out. And I'm really intrigued by the ending too. I should have brought this up earlier, but I think there's a read. Obviously, like what happened? Did they become big women? I don't fucking know. It's crazy. But some of other inconsistencies in the end, like make it all the more confusing. Like Lou just got shot in the leg and then she
And now
is
she's like
not limping at all.
dragging body into the desert.
Yeah, she's not limping. She has no signs of being shot or anything like that. Like, what actually happened in that final scene? Like, what's real? What's imaginary? I literally have no idea. And so I feel like the fact that she's like magically healed annoys me a little bit just because like that doesn't make sense within the narrative, you know what I mean? Like I like the idea of it being some sort of weird hallucination that they became giant and all of that, or it being real and this is a magical world that we're living in. But that was a little bit of a question mark for me at the end of this movie. But that said, I still really, really liked it. And I thought it was visually stunning. And I just really, really love this director, Rose Glass. And I'm really interested to see, like, she's had 2 really strong films come out for her first 2 movies.
I need
And
to watch Thank
I'm
God.
yeah, you should see it. I don't know if it'll be for you, because I never know with you and I love you. But but like I was really into it. Also, pretty sure it's at least a little bit gay, so keep that in
That's
mind.
what I remember reading.
Yeah. But anyway, that said, like great, great, great movie. I think I'll give it a 4. I'll stick with you guys on this because I think that there are some things that are problematic, and also it made me feel bad watching it for reasons that I will not disclose on this podcast. I had to say all my other thoughts besides my main thoughts about the movie. That was very hard. But yeah, 4 out of 5. I am so glad that this movie exists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I'm so
should
glad.
exist because but this should pave the way for a lot more lesbian thrillers, bisexual lady thrillers,
Yes.
sapphic slashers and such.
Delicious.
Queer horror. That's what I want more of.
I want more explicit queer horror. It will make Pride Month easier to program in the future. And also that is the only thing that I read is horror and gay shit. So when they come together, hoo.
I want it all.
Speaking of more queer horror, what's up next?
So next week, the gay shit continues. And when I say gay shit, I'm being literal.
Oh, scary.
Chelsea, you haven't seen this movie, have you?
No, but I
No.
know one fact about it. So
Yep. There you go. We are doing a classic film that maybe you need to brush up on your history to see because it is definitive for the gay horror genre, but it is definitely an indie because it was filmed way back in the day. Was it his first film? I'm not sure. It's one of them.
I think it's
But
his
this
third film.
Oh, yeah. Because I went to his whole
Yeah, we
whole
went to
thing.
the thing.
I went to the thing and I forgot a lot about it. We're talking about John Waters. We're talking about his masterpiece.
His magnum opus of filth.
Oh, yeah, of filth for sure. But that's Pink Flamingos, baby. So
I love this
It's-
movie.
I've only seen it once. I've only seen it once, and I saw it with our special guest that we will have joining us next week. This is a new friend that we actually all met for the first time together when we were all dressed as vampires at a very swangin' horror themed Halloween party. All Halloween things are horror themed.
Yeah, thank God we
Um,
went to a horror themed Halloween party.
I know, I'm so
That
sorry.
would've been
I
so
said horror
scary if it
instead of
wasn't horror
Halloween.
themed.
It was a Halloween themed Halloween party, shockingly. But that was the night that Paul Presley came into our lives. And this is one of my great friends. We have horror movie nights every month, and he always shows me something I've never fucking seen before. And one of those things was Pink Flamingos. And he is actually a horror movie director. He just directed his first short film, and I just saw it, and it slapped. It's called Scrumptious, and it's very much
Slay.
inspired by John Waters' work. And he is very inspired by John Waters. He knows a lot about John Waters. He goes to Camp John Waters every year and has met
I
the
want to
man
go to that.
himself. Oh, you would love it. You guys are gonna love each other.
2025, let's go. Because
Let's
I
fucking
looked into
go.
it and it's all sold out right now. So next year.
I know. But yeah, Paul will be joining us this week or next week, excuse me. And it's gonna be a fucking blast. I just can't wait to talk about Divine.
I literally cannot wait to like talk about this movie because it is in a way like one of the most important moments in queer like cultural history.
I'm scared to
It's-
see it.
You should be.
You
would
should
say
be, Chelsea.
be.
You absolutely I don't
I
know
I
if
don't think
Chelsea's
I'm gonna like it.
this.
I don't know if you're gonna like it. I'm pretty sure it's NC-17. Like,
Yeah.
it's beyond the rating system that we usually play within.
But here's the one
but
thing that I do love is in Birmingham they have a thing called Sidewalk Film Festival. So they'll show like movies and they're doing a midnight showing of this movie, which I think is
oh my
pretty
god,
bold for Birmingham, Alabama. I'm just saying.
Pretty bold
and
for
I
Birmingham, Alabama.
cannot wait
that's
to
very
go.
bold.
Uh-huh. And I can't wait to go and meet all of my people who are at this theater.
Gonna make a lot of friends.
Yes.
Yeah, I just double checked. It is NC-17, and the
Great.
tagline for it is an exercise in poor taste.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll see.
Chelsea's gonna have a
John
big time,
Waters,
or she'll
that's
cry.
my Baltimore guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Good
I'll ride or die for
morning,
him one way or another.
Baltimore.
Iconic. Okay, it's time. What is our poll question for the glorious movie that is Love Lies Bleeding? Oh fuck! I didn't say the thing. Love Lies Bleeding is a flower.
Oh,
And then in
tell them right now.
This could be our poll question. Did you know that Love Lies Bleeding was
Did
a
you know?
flower?
It's
Did
a
you know?
flower, and it symbolizes hopeless love or hopelessness in Victorian language for flowers. I was so excited about that, and I totally forgot to say it.
Hey, at least
Ugh.
you said it.
It's here now.
It's
But doesn't that
recorded.
We're
make
the
you love the
bitches who
movie
listen to the
even
end.
more?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you love it even more? It makes me love it more. 'Cause I was like, what
I
is that
know.
title from? I didn't think about it that much. I just thought it sounded cool. Well, it's about flowers and flower
love
language. So
Flower
there you go.
language, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I think that's so fun.
Talk about symbolism. Anyway. Okay, yeah. What can our question be? Do you think well, is that a spoiler? Do you think they actually became big women? Or was it all a dream?
Could be a little spoilery.
Yeah. Do would you do steroids? Yes or no?
Have you ever done steroids before?
Let's have people narc on themselves in our poll question.
How, under what circumstances would you U-Haul with another person?
That's hard
How
for multiple
quickly would
choice.
you U-Haul?
One is I'm unhoused, and then it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd U-Haul.
How
I
quickly
don't know,
are
girl.
you U-Hauling with somebody?
How about this one? Should we do Kristen Stewart Horror Month on the podcast? Yes or no? I was thinking about it. If we wait until that new Vampire Rave
Poll
one comes
question.
out,
Are the Twilight references intentional?
Oh,
there you go.
There we go.
Thank God we needed someone to come in with a sane.
it would be
idea.
Chelsea. Bless.
Phew.
Let me just wipe
Bill-
my sweat off my bald head with my gun.
Wow. As a reminder, it's Pride Month, and so as a reminder, we're all gay. So as
And
a
as a
reminder,
reminder,
yay.
sometimes you can do drag.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, as a reminder, yeah. Why
Chelsea
don't you say
Duff Drag
if-
I
King
lo-
right here.
Chelsea Drag King Duff. I love it. I love a
Why
little
don't you
drag king
say that?
moment.
in a 5-star review? Wow, Chelsea Duff, drag queen? Question mark.
Drag king.
Incredible. Drag king.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
I don't have the makeup skills to be a drag queen.
Chelsea Duff, drag queen, drag king, drag everything? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yes, that's the review right there. You've done it. 5 stars, and we'll accept it that way or in a 5-star rating on Spotify. And why not follow us on social media? We're at spooky_Tuesday on pretty much everything except for Facebook and Tumblr. We are at Spooky Tuesday Pod. And we're on YouTube and we're kitted up, bitches. We look good. We look gay. We're doing
Look
things
at the
with
details
wig caps.
On my
Right.
cigarette. It's burnt. I'm
It's
smoking it.
The prop work, immaculate. The
Yes,
wig
we
work,
love prop work.
immaculate. Sometimes you don't even need a wig because you just do magic with your actual hair. Sydney is
Look at
crimping.
her.
I used a rat tail and several bobby pins to make it look
No,
like I
wait.
have a mullet.
Sydney, strike one muscle mommy pose before we go. Give him one.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay.
Muscle, oh my
Muscle
God. Oh my God.
mommy.
Explicit. I'm kidding. Oh my
Whoa.
God. Wow. The YouTube
Yes,
crowd is
I
really
love
getting it all here. And if you don't subscribe, then what are you fucking doing?
What
And
are you
also,
doing?
if you don't listen to the end of the podcast, what are you fucking doing? Because you're missing gems.
Sometimes there's stuff back here, you guys. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah,
And it's
sometimes we like to give
important.
you the end is a little sweet treat, you know?
It's a
of
little
the
sweet treat of
pod.
incoherent nonsense, but there's some gems in there. Okay. Anyway, and at the end of the day, I have to say thank you for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, spookies.
I don't know what's wrong with me. Hey. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Because you're the most amazing, most incredible, beautiful person I've ever met in my whole life. He deserved it. What about her? My dad made you do it. He does that. You didn't have a choice, okay? I fucking love you, you idiot. I love you too.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at great18_. That's GR818_. And our podcast art is by Ryan Brom, who you can find on Instagram at Ryan Brom Art. That's Ryan, RYAN, Brom, BROMM, Art, ART. Learn more about Spooky Tuesday at spookytuesdaypod.tumblr.com.